Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another episode of Overbooked here on the channel. This is the series where I talk about every single book on my shelves because I have to heal my father from a curse that I set upon him with my magic. Too niche? Today we are going to be talking about Catherine Bakewell's Flowerheart. I'm gonna pop this right up behind me because it's way too shiny to hold up on camera. Some quick disclaimers before we start. I was sent this review copy for free from the publisher, regardless of where books come from. Nobody's paying me to talk about books except my patrons, and all opinions are my own. I'm gonna keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible. I don't think it would matter too much. You could probably guess what would happen in this book. But that's by the by. If you do want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, pause the video, come back when you've read it, we'll talk then. And I will link the story graph for the book below in case you want to check out any user-generated content warnings. This is a young adult fantasy romance novel from author Catherine Bakewell, who is a St. Louis-based author who writes fairy tales for people with big feelings. It originally came out in March of 2023, and I'm only just getting to reviewing it now. It's fine. Our main character, Clara Lucas. Here she is on the cover. In fact, editing Judith, please put the cover in. Here she is on the cover. She has magic, however, she cannot be qualified as a witch because her magic is uncontrollable. And right at the start of this book, she accidentally curses her father with a dark magic that will cause him to die. In order to learn how to fix this, the only person she can team up with is the young local wizard who just so happens to be her ex-best friend. They lost touch many years ago. Can they get back in touch? What's gonna happen? Why does he seem so sleepy all the time? Mysteries abound. Why should you read this book? Should you read this book? What are the reasons for reading this book? It's very YA fantasy romance in all of its fullness, the most sort of sweet and saccharine kind of YA fantasy romance where, as I say, by the time you've read the first couple of chapters, you can probably guess the ending, but it's still enjoyable to read the rest. Clara's a very fun character, the magic is very sweet, the language of flowers that's sprinkled throughout the book is really enjoyable. There are stakes to the story, which helps a lot. I think if there weren't, it would feel incredibly sickly sweet, but the slightly dark edge to some of the things that happen does make it extra enjoyable. I think if you've heard that plotline and you're like, that sounds like a good time, you'll have that exact kind of good time with this book. I think the same can be said for a lot of Harper 360 YA stuff. Like, they just really get their market. Second reason you should read this book, learning to do magic, always a fun time. Obviously, Clara has some innate magical ability, but she has to learn to control her magic and through that learns a bit more magic as she goes. I love a mentor-student kind of thing going on. Not necessarily teacher-student, that's a little bit far for me, but mentor-student, a lovely little relationship, a lovely chance to learn some magic, to hear about a magic system, which you know I love. It's not a super hard magic system in this, it's a little bit loosey-goosey, but there's enough of a structure there that it hits my magic system enjoyment. I already mentioned the language of flowers elements, but I do think they're worth mentioning again. It's a lovely little world building element, a little atmospheric setting kind of thing. In terms of the overall world building, I did enjoy that as well. The kind of wizard witch bureaucracy and having to be announced as a witch and all of this apprenticeship stuff really reminded me of The Paper Magician, which is a series that I've very much enjoyed. Has its flaws, but I enjoyed it. It's also a queer norm world. We have trans characters, we have gay characters. That's very lovely to me. I liked that it was in there, especially in a book that is about a straight romance at its core. It's nice to know those other things exist. And overall, if you're here for a tropey good time, this book is a tropey good time. If you want a nice, anxious wizard boyfriend, here he is. He's here for you. I don't have a lot of cons that wouldn't just be, if you don't like this, then you won't like this. I've kind of written in my notes just all the usual YA fantasy romance caveats, because I feel like I've said that in so many videos before. So if you're brand new to the channel, my apologies. This is so specific of a thing that if you don't like it, you will hate this because it's so leaning into all of those things. However, if you're either able to just kind of close off your mind to, I'm trying not to be rude, this isn't a great work of literature, you know? It's an enjoyable palate cleansey, read it on a plane kind of time. And this is my second one, and this is such a nothing to do with the book thing, which is why I'm putting it right at the end. I really dislike this cover. I'm so sorry to the artist. I'm sure that you're very, very talented, but I do not like it as a book cover, and I think it should have been something else. And that's nothing to do with the content at all. I just felt the need to say it, because it bothers me. I would say, to me, this is the kind of book that I'm glad that I've read, and I have now read it twice because I had to reread it for Overbooked. I do not feel the need to read it again. I have other books in my collection that fill the place that this book would also fill, so for me, I would probably prefer to read something like Sorcery of Thorns, which is very similar in a lot of ways, but I think just has a bit more edge to it, and I know that I like it more. I have, however, reviewed a bunch of YA fantasy on this channel before. If you go back a couple of years, I was reading much more of it and much more able to review it from a kind of place of I enjoy this content more than I do now, so feel free to go back and check out some of those videos if you want some other recommendations. I have recently done my brutal book purge for this year. That video is coming, and a lot of the YA has been chucked off the shelves. I've reached that point where I don't necessarily need to own it anymore, so I will be unhauling this as part of that book purge. So sorry, Catherine. I'll read more that you write, but I would love a little bit more edge from you in the future. Overall, should you read this? I do think it's got some very interesting moments to it. There's a whole plot point about potions that I never really got into because I don't want to spoil that element of the book that I thought was really interesting and said a lot about the world and made me think that Catherine Bakewell is a good writer. This just isn't quite the kind of book that I'm going to want to read multiple times, and that's the only reason I'm unhauling it. I think as a YA book and a book for young adults, it hits pretty much everything you would expect it to hit. If you like that, you'll enjoy it. Have you read this? Do you have plans to? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to say an enormous thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams, and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much to you for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.
There's gonna be some bloopers now.
She is desperate to be pronounced, she is desperate to...